Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
All right, Pete. Saturday afternoon, we're back, Films and Stuff. This is a continuation of our not-so-pet project to document our thought process of creating a action movie.
That's right. And not just any action movie.
Not just any action movie.
But potentially Michael Bay or actually Joseph Kosinski, the guy who directed Top Gun Maverick. Because I feel like this could be on his wheelhouse too, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's a
summer
naval
blockbuster.
Movie. Yeah.
Summer naval blockbuster.
And we haven't had a really good naval action movie or even a suspense movie in a long time, right?
I totally agree.
Let's 150,000% discount Battleship with Rihanna and all that nonsense because that was absolutely garbage. But before that, what was the one you can think of? It absolutely was.
Really?
They had it.
What about The Last Ship? Did you ever watch that series?
No. But look, let me just say, they had a ship doing a Tokyo Drift style, cornering turn with their anchors in that movie. That's not how ships work. Ships do not drift around corners on the ocean.
True. So what we're trying to do is trying to create the Top Gun of naval movies.
Of naval movies. Well, of ship movies, because Top Gun is the Navy as well. So.
Oh, maybe this should be the Air Force.
Yeah.
Have ships. So wait, Top Gun. So Top Gun is a naval movie about airplanes, and Vessel is an Air Force movie about ships?
About ships, yes. That's right. We've got aircraft carriers now.
What's the Army about? Space. Okay. What you said actually leads into one of my points, which is this a buddy movie where it's like Goose and Maverick, The Rock and Kevin Hart, kind of a buddy movie? Or is this a Bruce Willis one-man band movie?
So I see it as a little bit of a hybrid because you're definitely going to have so to give viewers a little bit or listeners a little bit of background, after last week's episode, I was inspired. I can't help myself. Yeah. Ethan inspired me and I went on a little bit of a writing rampage and I wrote a synopsis, a 3-act structure and synopsis. And I thought that it would be something that Ethan and I would workshop together.
All credit to Pete on this.
No.
Really.
This is a team effort.
My hat's off to you. I have no hat on, but if I had a hat, it would be off. Really impressive stuff.
So I thought that there are certainly elements of there being a buddy cop movie in there because, there's the grizzled Navy vet, there's the stiff collared shirt Navy captain, and, they butt heads, which gives you the element of, good cop, bad cop or kind of thing. But there's also definitely an element of Bruce Willis storming the submarine or storming the ships on his own.
Yeah. So let me take you through. So just to recap what we did, you and I have kind of workshopped this in our last episode. And then you went and you took a lot of those themes and you put together kind of like a framework, like a plot framework. And then I took a read and now I've got some, I just want to say like observations, let's say.
Yeah.
I want to be really respectful to what you put together.
No.
Some
whole
observations.
Point is we should shred it.
And let's workshop it from there.
I agree. I think the point is that Ethan and I, we're like armchair quarterbacks. When we see a movie, we take pleasure in ripping apart plot holes, as I expect most people do. So the idea is I've written something very basic, and it needs to pass the sniff test. And
Yeah.
in this case, it needs
Yeah.
to pass the films and stuff sniff test, right? So if Ethan and I can go through this plot and not come up, and I get it's going to be difficult because, it's our work. It's very subjective. But we're going to try to make sure that there aren't any kind of things that we would otherwise criticize another film for.
Yeah. I think the way that you start off, I think is right. I mean, I'm going to recap it a little bit and maybe adjust it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I like the idea that there is an admiral, highly decorated, an absolute, American patriot. And I kind of thought that he's testifying in front of Congress or the Senate, in terms of, naval modernization, kind of what you said, and he's like, hey, we need fewer aircraft carriers. We need more smaller ships, more patrol drones, one aircraft carrier in the Pacific can't possibly cover all this space. Our shores are at risk. Blah, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's kind of humiliated in this hearing, maybe there's, the senators are, come on, you're asking for all this money. We've got all these other priorities in the world. We've given you everything. You've done this for 40 years, all these other issues, right? And he feels like, look, this is really in our best interest. I've got to make a point. I thought yours was a little bit dramatic, right? I don't think we need this huge nuclear blast where hundreds of thousands of people are injured. I think that's a little bit inconsistent with his ultimate goal, which is to protect America, to be patriotic. I think we need something that's kind of like a dramatic attack, but he's probably trying to keep the collateral damage and the needless deaths to kind of zero or a minimum. He's like, I hope no one, I guess I kind of see this as a missile exploding in a shipyard or in a dock or a port or something. And it causes a lot of damage and destruction, but maybe
not loss of life.
Yeah, maybe he's pretty careful in terms of when it's detonated or something. And he's like, look, maybe no one's going to get injured, but it's going to be this big thing and it'll be on the news. And, I'll be able to demonstrate that, this was a lucky call or a lucky break.
Okay.
Obviously this demonstrates that's kind of how I don't think that's the way we have it play out, but I think that's the way he kind of justifies it in his head, which is, hey, I'm just going to explode something in an abandoned or it's evacuated, port. No one's going to get hurt. I'm doing this for the greater good kind of thing. Yeah, some containers are going to be damaged, but, those are just things. I'm doing this to kind of protect the American public. Kind of that's his justification, right? It may be a little bit naive, but that's kind of what he's going for. So I thought, then I think you're absolutely on the right track in terms of, I think that he needs to manipulate during this training exercise of the war games with the Pacific allies. I thought was brilliant. And I think, yes, he needs to manipulate that he's got a hand-picked crew, right? And the hand-picked crew somehow, and this is where I'm going to open it up for a little bit of your feedback. I'm wondering whether the crew should be on the sub and they intentionally damage the sub, or if his handpicked crew is on the destroyer and they intentionally damage the sub. And maybe we don't need to decide now, but just kind of hear me out as I go through this, right?
Yep.
But his handpicked crew is like, hey, he kind of says hey, just throw this thing into reverse, damage it. That's your mission. They don't know kind of the bigger picture, but that's kind of their instruction. And he kind of gives it as, this is part of the war games. We're going to simulate, if there was damage and what would happen, right? So they kind of are in on it, but they're not actually in on the bigger plan, right? So one of these two ships is kind of manipulated by him to damage the sub. And then I really like your idea, which is, hey, now these two ships, both of them are excused. And, the destroyer needs to escort the damaged submarine, which cannot go very fast any longer. It needs to escort it to, whatever base it needs to go to, right?
Sure.
I love this so far. I think it's super, super good. Then I was thinking, you mentioned that, protocol dictates that a tugboat needs to come in. And I was thinking, I don't think that's necessarily right.
Protocol. That wasn't for protocol. It was so the idea was that at the end of during Act 1, the Navy's like, okay, there's a storm coming in. It normally takes 5 days for you to get the submarine to travel across the Pacific and get to our base in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But because the engine is damaged or the hull is damaged, it'll take 6 days or 7 days to get there. So guess what? We're going to hire a tugboat who's going to help pull you along as well. And it's kind of like you get a little bit of an extra, 5 knots, and it'll get you there in 3 days, so you'll beat out the storm.
Okay, so hear me out on this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk about it out loud. You tell me what's right here.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, let's say the submarine is piloted by the straight-laced captain, right?
That's right.
Or whatever he is, admiral. And he says, hey, protocol dictates that I've got to have, I don't know. He says I can't be on my own. I've got to call like an independent contractor, like Blackwater or someone. And that, contractor tug has to pull me because I can't be alone at sea, right? And the destroyer is like, with kind of the handpicked bad guys, so to speak, is like, no, we'll escort you. Right? Because they think that they're going to escort the sub and then kind of steal the weapons. And that's why the freighter needs to come in and smashes the tug.
Yep.
The alternative is that, so that's if the straight-laced captain, wants the tug. The alternative is that, the tug is actually the good guys, right? Mm-hmm. And the destroyer is the bad guys. And the destroyer's like, yeah, we'll escort you. And the captain's like, no. I don't need you. I've got to follow my protocol. I've got to call this third party tug or a naval tug or whatever it is to take me. And the destroyer stays on, right? And that's the bad guy. So I'm not sure. I think we need to workshop that exactly why there's 3. And because I think one of them needs to be unintended.
Yeah,
right? And
so I think the unintended should be the tug, because the unintended, if the tug is the unintended good guy, right? Or the neutral guy that's not good or bad, what that does is when they obviously are the good guys, they automatically become the underdogs because it's just a tugboat. It's not a destroyer. It's not got any weapons. It doesn't have harpoons. It doesn't have any defensive capabilities. It's literally there because the Navy said, "Hey, listen, we need you. We need your help to get this to get our ship home." Yeah.
So it's like an independent contractor, right? It's it's like Blackwater, like one of these like contractors, right? And so it's who's the straight-laced guy? We still think it's the sub guy who's straight-laced.
Yeah, I think it has to be. I think it really has to be. And I think what you can do is maybe a modification is you can have, out of his skeleton crew that's running the submarine, you could have 1 or 2 guys who report to the admiral, who are there to kind of sabotage it. Because that, for me, was the weakest part of what I had written was, how do you sabotage the submarine? The way I had said it was, the destroyer gets too close and the wake causes the ship to have to slow down, and that's why they get hit by the storm.
Yeah.
Whereas what I could say is that, the admiral says, hey, we're going to put a couple of our engineers on there from the destroyer. They're going to send a couple of engineers to look after the engine, and they're going to intentionally sabotage the engine And that's going to cause the engine to go slower, and that's when they get hit by the storm. And the reason we need the storm is because A, it adds great visuals, and B, it's the perfect cover for this heist.
So can I tell you what I was thinking? So yeah. I think all these elements are right, but I'm just going to adjust them a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the goal, like a realistic goal, is that the intention is to steal a missile or a warhead of a missile, an explosive, from the sub, right? I think that's what they're actually trying to do. Is they're like, look, we just want to get one of these missiles or the warhead of a missile off the sub. We're going to put it in a container. The container is going to go to the port of Los Angeles where we're going to detonate it. That's it. What we're trying to do is we're trying to get this sub in a vulnerable position, right? It's not easy to steal a missile or something like this, right? They're all accounted for. There's a lot of people. So they're trying to damage the sub so that by protocol, the crew goes off. The captain somehow decides he's not going to leave. He's the sole good guy remaining with this. Let's say like an engineer team is supposed to stay with the sub while it's being dragged. The engineer team is the bad guys, so to speak, right? The handpicked.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Bad guys. And the captain's like, hey, I'm not leaving. And they're like, hey, it's protocol. You always follow protocol. You got to leave. It's like, no. Like, I'm not comfortable with this. Like, it's my responsibility. I screwed up somehow, and he stays. And that's why he's still on the sub. But I was thinking what they're trying to do, and especially if you think of like an American sub, there's going to be satellite, like you're going to see this thing is on its course, right? So What I thought is going to happen is that the ship that's towing it, there's a long tow line. The freighter comes, right, under the cover of night, and now it's going to be with the storm. The freighter basically goes over it, right? And you said like there's that tank, like that cutout over the freighter, right?
Yep.
What is that called?
It's a moon pool.
The moon pool. So there's a moon pool, right? The sub is just still being dragged. So all kind of like the speed and the heading and everything like are still according to normal, right? So everyone who's following the sub, and it is a US sub, right? So I mean, it can't just go like missing or something, and it can't be hijacked because I think that's also going to be call into question what's going on, right? The admiral's trying to do this with like minimum collateral damage to everyone. So when they load up the sub for the war games, his handpicked crew kind of like, let's say puts an extra missile on, right? They're counting how many onto the sub, right? So they're counting how many warheads should be on, and the admiral's crew puts on 6.
11 instead of 10, or whatever it is.
Exactly, right? And the idea is then this moon pool goes over it. They've got the skeleton crew on board. They open the hatch. They take one off. They give it to the guys on the freighter. Very smooth transaction, right? The sub goes on its way. It gets its repairs. It was damaged. Everything's accounted for, right? And there's one missile missing from the base. No one really kind of knows where or how it was gone. The freighter takes that missile, puts it in the cargo container. The cargo goes to the port of Los Angeles. It explodes, right? So that's...
What you're suggesting is that instead of using the submarine as the explosive container, you want to change it to make it the freighter that's the explosive container.
Yeah, I think the freighter is the bad guy's vehicle with the moon pool to kind of hover over the sub while it's being dragged, right?
Yeah.
And then all the optics are okay. Because I feel like the admiral's not going to... One, he's not trying to damage like $1 billion sub, and he knows if the sub is somehow hijacked, attacked, or sinks, like the inquiry is going to be huge, and it's probably going to make the Navy look incompetent or stupid or something. He's not trying to actually get anyone in trouble. He just thinks, hey, I'll get my team to put an extra missile on here. The moon pool goes over it. They take one off. They continue on their way. The thing is pulling the sub into the port. It gets repaired in Hawaii. No one's the wiser. How? there's an explosion in Los Angeles. How was that explosion made? No one kind of knows. And, that's his impetus for saying, you see how difficult it is to patrol the Pacific? I need more. No one knows how or why or anything.
Let me ask you this, right? Yeah. So the idea originally was that in our first draft, the idea was that this admiral creates what's effectively a false flag.
Yes.
Right? And he says that he convinces his handpicked group of captains and lieutenants that, listen, we're going to go do a false flag for the betterment of the U.S. Navy and for the betterment of America.
Yes.
So the idea is that we're going to steal this submarine. This is the first draft. Steal the submarine. Yeah. We are going to and this submarine, it's okay for us to steal and destroy the submarine because it's 40 years old or 50 years old. It's end of life. It's basically useless to us in modern warfare. This is the equivalent of Top Gun's, fourth generation fighters versus the fifth generation fighters. Yes. So it's more or less useless. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it off the coast of, let's say, Hawaii or Los Angeles, whatever we decide. And we're going to blow it up in such a way that, or even if we don't blow it up, the idea is that we're going to threaten people and then blow it up in such a way that it doesn't hurt anyone.
Yeah.
And when we do that, then I'll be able to go back to the Senate and tell them, I told you so.
Correct.
We saw this coming a mile away. I told you I needed an extra $100 billion to make the Navy more modern. You said no, and this is what's happened. We could have lost a million American lives.
Yes, correct.
So we're lucky that we didn't lose anything, and all we lost was a 50-year-old submarine that was end of life anyway, and we're lucky that the explosive malfunctioned. Yeah. That was the original draft. And then the idea was that there's a secret second false flag mission, which is to say that the admiral is pretty sure that an explosive off the coast that doesn't actually hurt anyone isn't going to be enough to move the needle for the U.S. Senate. So unbeknownst to his own crew of guys, this is the plot twist, is that it's not actually a false flag. He's actually going to go through with it. So whereas they were going to prematurely explode it off the coast, he actually wants to take it into the harbor and blow it up. And how we find out about that twist is that the freighter attacks the destroyer, which is the admiral's guys, in the storm after they secure the submarine. And then what he does, and so now what happens is the guys who are the bad guys on the submarine realize, oh my God, he's actually lost his mind. We actually can't let him do this. That was the original thought. Okay, so that was all draft one, or the first draft. So now what you're so what are you saying is where is the plot twist coming in your draft now, in the second version now?
I mean, I like your... I guess I'm understanding a little bit more where you're coming from, right? There needs to be like
something that escalates
more. But what is the escalation? So you think the destroyer should be that? That's why I have a problem with then the tug and the destroyer, because then you don't need both of those, right? Then you only need one of those. I think one of them should be enough. Right. That's why I thought that.
What do you mean by only need one of them?
So so again, like if you just have the tug, right? Mm-hmm. The tug should have been, the team that said, "Hey, we're working for the admiral, right? We're helping with this small false flag attack. All we need to do is tow the sub, let the freighter hover over it." They're going to take off one missile. No one's going to be the wiser, right? But then the freighter smashes the tug, right? and
I get
takes
it.
it takes
I
the
understand
entire
what you're
sub, right?
saying. I understand what you're saying. So you're saying is, what if we simplify it, right?
Yeah.
Because so instead of having 3, you have 2.
Yeah.
I thought the reason you have the third is because the third, in this case the tug, is a neutral guy. And what happens is, for me, one of the elements of a decent movie or a good movie is where you get to where you see a defect in the good guy turn into an asset, right? Where he learns from, that he can't be this stiff collared shirt guy, and that, he can't be a rules following robot. He needs to learn to be improvisational. And the captain of the tug is the guy who kind of helps him with that. He becomes his like sidekick / subplot. Because you have to have it can't just all be about the external conflict, right? You have to make the film a little bit deeper, pardon the pun. But you need the personality of the good guy also needs to change a little bit, right? And you saw a little bit of that in Top Gun Maverick, where you see Miles Teller's character, who's like, he always waits, he always overthinks, and then in the last second of the movie he stops overthinking. You need that internal conflict too. It can't just always be about an external objective. There needs to be an internal objective too.
I agree with everything you're saying. I guess I'm just trying to apply this to all the different things that we have in this scene, right?
Sure.
And maybe, to be honest, okay.
So let me play. Maybe this will help. Let me help it. Let me play it out. Right. So I've written it down, but let me try to visualize it for you. Okay. So you've got an injured submarine that's somehow been injured because of the freighter. Because of the destroyer. Right, the admiral's crew. Or even if it's not, the admiral's crew is then assigned to take it back to Honolulu to escort it back.
They're assigned as the escort.
They're assigned as the escort. Okay, so that's the inciting incident.
Yeah.
And what happens is, because the submarine is too slow, and because destroyers are not geared or equipped to help tow, the Navy hires a tugboat to help the submarine go faster.
Okay, but just let me interrupt here. This is where I think we need to tease this out a little bit, right? Because if this is really there has to be someone who's not supposed to be there.
That's the tugboat.
But who called the tug?
Let's say the Navy did, without the admiral's expectations. Because the admiral wasn't expecting the damage to be as extensive as it was. It was meant to be, they were meant to do a slight fender bender, and it turns out to be a bigger fender bender.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking, that if the tug is the bad guys, if that's Blackwater, and they're like, hey, we know this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right? We know that they've got to call Blackwater, right? They're going to call Blackwater. We've already got the ship. We've already got our crew on the ship, right? That's a lot easier to staff, to get like those few contractors. That could be the bad guys. And then it's kind of like, look, the destroyer is there unintentionally. The destroyer's not supposed to be there. And then it's the destroyer that's, again, the freighter has no choice but to take out the destroyer. Maybe using the destroyer is the wrong word, because that sounds like heavy military. It needs to be like some type of...
that's the point, is that even if you have a destroyer... The reason the tugboat, I think, in my opinion, I get what you're saying, but I like the destroyer being the bad guy, because the destroyer is a powerful ship. And if it comes to ship combat, a destroyer is going to take out a cargo container relatively easily.
That I agree with that, but in that case, it has to be kind of I don't know who the good captain is, or like the straight-laced guy. Is it the destroyer captain, or is it the sub captain?
No, I think it's so let me finish that, right? So I think it's going to be the
The subcaptain.
The subcaptain doesn't want to leave the ship because he's a firm believer in following the rules, and he says totally the captain should never leave the ship.
I think it's the opposite. I think, so if you don't mind, I think he has to unexpectedly, right? They've got to know that he's a by-the-book guy. So he has to do two things that are not expected.
Yes.
He has to unexpectedly call the tug, and the destroyer's like, what the flip? Why is he bringing in this guy? Like, that's not supposed to happen, you know? And he has to say, I'm staying with the ship. And it has to be, wait, the protocol is that all non-essential, you know, only like one, you know, there has to be like a special crew or like only a skeleton crew. And he should not be one of the people. He should have left. And he somehow says, I'm staying. And they're like, well, look, we can't shoot him. We'll deal with it later. You know,
this is it. So this is what happens, right? So the sub gets damaged.
Yes.
They know that it's going to take 5 days to get there, but his idea is that if he can get there in 3 days before the storm, he'll somehow salvage his reputation. And so what he does, the straight-laced sub-captain says, all right, you know what? I'm going to try to save the Navy some face because I'm a straight-laced Navy man, and this is bad reputation.
I'll take the bullet for the team.
Exactly.
I'll take the bullet for the team.
And I'm going to call up Captain Dave or whatever his name is, who's a tugboat captain. I know of him. I don't like him, but I respect that he's a good man and that he used to be a Navy man and he knows how this works. He's going to get me to Honolulu 2 days in advance, and I'm going to be able to save face. So even though I'm not supposed to be on this ship, I'm going to stay on the submarine. I'm going to stay on board, and I'm going to get the tugboat in there.
I'm going to roll up my sleeves, and I'm going to make sure that this thing happens, right?
There you go. So now instead
those
of
have to be the two unexpected things.
Right. So instead of the Navy sanctioning the tugboat, it's the captain who says, this goes against every fiber in my being to not follow the Navy, but for the Navy's own good, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we get the submarine there. So now the destroyer, who's filled with bad guys and has sent a skeleton crew of bad guy engineers into the submarine, has to deal with the fact that there's an external tugboat and the captain on the submarine. And so that doesn't destroy, but that affects so that means they have to radio the cargo container, the freighter, in the storm and tell them, you have to take out the tugboat. We'll make sure our guys on the ship take out the submarine, take out the captain, and that's how we get the submarine. Yep,
I agree. I think that's right.
Okay, I like that
because I think that's a more appropriate, like the visual of the freighter hitting the tugboat. It's like, how did that happen? Well, we don't know. That's a private ship, first of all. It just got hit by a freighter. There was a storm. Something happened to the navigation. Like, you know, classic case of miscommunication.
Sure.
Not our problem. Our job was to get the sub there. We got it there. Okay. Right.
So let's then take a step forward. Okay. So we're in the storm. The destroyer is escorting the submarine. The submarine is being towed by a tugboat.
Yes.
And then a container ship shows up, comes off of the normal trading route, the cargo route.
Yes.
Unexpectedly. And then, the destroyer, sends a message to the captain. Oh, it's probably because of the storm. They're probably doing a course correction. You can ignore it. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
The cargo container then purposefully knocks the tugboat out of commission. Doesn't destroy it, but knocks it out of commission.
Yeah, but they think it's like it's one of those like no one could have survived that. Exactly. We assume that they're...
And you see that so for everybody else, they see that, there's no way they could have survived. Yeah. But what we see on the tugboat is that this Captain Dave is no fool. He gets it. It was done on purpose. So, in the classic subterfuge, he throws out life vests. He throws out like some garbage, and so that it looks like people are dead.
Yeah.
Right? So there's some makeshift people. It looks like they're dead. And so that all eyes are off of it. And his ship is disabled, but he's not dead.
Yeah.
The crew is still alive and well.
Who's the crew? I mean, I think it has to be 3 guys, 2 guys,
Max.
Maybe even 1 dies. And
Max plus. So my feeling was it was the captain of the tugboat, another like grizzled, older guy, and his kid. And the kid is a very subplotty thing that we can easily remove or add. I just did it for a little bit of flavor.
I was gonna say, I mean, this is totally knee jerk. I don't even know if I believe it, but I was gonna say it should be a captain, not like too grizzled, but someone like who's the guy who plays Wolverine?
Hugh Jackman. Yeah,
like a Hugh Jackman, kind of like a jolly chubby guy for comedic value.
Yep.
And then his very kind of like nerdy navigator, and the navigator actually passes away. And that's kind of who you see like face down.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right?
So like the token
and it's,
dead body, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it's kind of the chubby guy, the chubby guy who's there for comedic value, and Hugh Jackman, who's kind of like handsome underneath it all, but yes, they make him like a little bit kind of grizzled in this.
A little bit like Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Which
is actually, it would be like Gerard Butler, and
who like in the prime, you're just like, wow, he's a Greek god, but he's a little over his past the prime. He looks it that way, but he can, he's still very capable, but he knows what he's talking about. And this is kind of a role that Gerard Butler is perfect for at the moment.
Yes, I agree.
So that's the...
Okay.
So that's the... So here's the question I have for you, okay? Because I think this is where you and I are starting to diverge.
Because those guys would be good on the yacht. Yeah?
Exactly.
Those guys would be good on the yacht.
Yes. Yeah. So fine. We've got that.
Yeah.
That's the setup for during the storm. The question I have, and this is, I think, where you and I are starting to diverge on a more principle basis, right? My feeling was that you need a plot twist. You need you already have a heel turn in the Admiral, but I think you need something that makes the freighters, who are actually genuinely patriots. They are patriots. They believe in America first, and they believe that the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
To an extent. And the Admiral believes the same, but he's willing to sacrifice American citizens' lives for it, and these guys aren't. That was my feeling.
So I agree with that. I agree that there needs to be, let's put it in general terms, there needs to be a team, and they both agree with the goal. One part of the team believes more dramatic actions are needed.
This is like,
but should it be the Admiral who's more aggressive, or should it actually be his team that's more aggressive?
Yeah. So this is where we have to. This I think is important, because if it's the team that's more gung ho, we can sacrifice 1 million American lives. It's worth it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
This is effectively and most essentially the same plot twist that we see in The Rock, right? Where the subordinates take over, kill the major of the army at Alcatraz, and kind of take over the mission to go all evil.
Yeah.
So that's, I'm not going to say it's cliched, but it's kind of been played out. And, again, readers, aloha at filmsandstuffpodcast.com. Maybe this is another trope, but I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, where the leader actually leans in.
It's more of a double cross, right?
It kind of is. Exactly.
Because I like what we've done, which is from the idea of the destroyer, it's like, hey, this is very simple. We just need to pull this sub. Someone's going to come, take one warhead, and we've done the mission, right? Okay, there's an extra tug. We'll destroy the tug, right?
Yeah.
And is it the double cross where that freighter comes and, like, I think, because I agree, we need to escalate this more than just kind of like one ballistic missile payload. It needs to be like something was on that sub that they didn't know about, or something else needs to be taken to kind of escalate this, right?
I like the idea of the escalation. And I think that it's important that the escalation isn't about the weapons. It's about the aftermath. So it's not that, oh, well, we had 5, we were going to steal 1 and now we're going to steal all 5. That's kind of irrelevant because at the end of the day, stealing 1 is as bad as stealing 5. For me, it's about, do we kill no American citizens or do we kill 100,000 American citizens? That's a big difference.
Okay. There's a few, just like not logistically, but in terms of the chase, we've got the sub sinks, the heroes, or the tug sinks.
Okay, so you want the tug? Okay, yeah. So the tug sinks.
But let's. So the tug sinks. The guys, 2 or 3 guys on the tug, go on to the yacht, and we love that chasing. What are they chasing? And then so I guess that's the question. Who do you want them to be chasing? And do you want the destroyer to be double-crossed so they're involved in the chase as well? And you've got kind of like a 3-way chase.
That's exactly it. You've hit the nail on the head. So my feeling was this, okay?
Yeah.
During the storm, the destroyer signals a mayday or an SOS and tells the U.S. Navy the sub that was already damaged is now taking on water because of the storm and is gone, even though it's not.
Okay.
And because they don't want the sub, because it's a submarine, because it can't go so fast, they want to get the sub closer to Honolulu or Los Angeles before they reveal that the sub is alive and well. So the idea is that the sub follows underneath the freighter and continues on the shipping route. And as it continues on the shipping route, all of a sudden, the sub takes off and goes towards the port, right? And the freighter peels off. And so what happens is the yacht is chasing the freighter. The destroyer has been double-crossed and is kind of stuck. We all as viewers think that the destroyer story is done and over with. Fine. Act 3, you have the chase sequence.
Can you say that again? Can you explain it again?
During the double cross, right? Yeah. Whatever happens, okay, whether it's the destroyer that takes on that becomes the bad guys or the freighter that becomes the bad guy, we can replace one with the other and flip it around, okay?
Yeah.
Let's say, for the sake of argument, the destroyer stays the good, is the guy who gets double crossed. Okay, so the freighter then fires off torpedoes at the destroyer, unbeknownst to the destroyer. That's where the double cross happens. And the destroyer is disabled. Not destroyed, but disabled. But we think that for the purpose of this movie, the audience members are left to believe that the destroyer is out of action and it's out of commission. It's done. We think the audience also believes now that the tugboat is out of action and that it's done. So the audience now believes the only way to save the day is with the one good captain on the submarine, right? So this is where it becomes more like Die Hard. In the meanwhile, the freighter/submarine combo gets back onto the trade route and starts steaming towards Hawaii. The tugboat guys commandeer the yacht. They're in touch with the captain. They start chasing the yacht through the trade route, so that you gives a little bit of visual. You see like it literally zigging and zagging through like other different freighters. So you get that visual. And at the end of that chase, or towards the end of that chase, the guys on the freighter are like, okay, we're close enough. We're going to veer off the trade route. We're going to escape because they don't want to go down with the ship. They want to escape. And the submarine with its crew is going to continue on to the port of Hawaii and blow itself up. The yacht chases the freighter. the guy on the captain on the captain who was on the sub gets onto the freighter before the sub departs, disables or is about to disable the remote control detonator for the explosive. Then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the destroyer comes back into play. It's repaired its engines, it's repaired its hull, and absolutely goes to town on this cargo container, while the yacht comes in, sneaks in, so that the captain can destroy the remote detonator, jump off the ship, get saved by the tugboat guy who's on the yacht, and then they sail away. And then the freighter gets blown up.
Oh.
You get a lot of Michael Bay explosions. You get a lot of
so
very
first of all,
cool chase sequences.
As a book, it definitely works. As a film, like, it's just a lot. Yeah.
I think it sounds like a lot. I think if you visualize it or storyboard it, I don't think it's that much. I actually think it's quite reasonable. In fact, I think it's very simplistic for a book. It becomes exciting because there's a lot of tension and drama, but I think that tension and drama really comes to play when you have it visualized.
So there's basically two chase scenes ongoing at the same time, right?
Yes, 1.5 really, but yes.
Yeah.
And if you don't want the destroyer to go after the yacht, you could have the destroyer go after the submarine. And let the yacht take on the freighter. Or vice versa, where the yacht stays with the submarine and then the freighter thinks that it's gotten away free and clear. All the bad guys think that they've won. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the destroyer shows up out of nowhere and goes to town on them.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of, maybe my hesitancy is coming from two things. And the first is that I want to make a really compelling story, and I agree that there needs to be at least 2 twists, and there needs to be kind of like 2 independent chases and then like the final chase. But I have to say, if the goal is to like get this thing made, I have like this thing in the back of my mind that's saying like someone's going to look at this and be like, look, this is really interesting, but like there's no way anyone's ever going to make this. Like it's either too confusing, too complicated, too expensive. Like it's just not going to be made. And that's okay. Like, I mean, this isn't like
this
make or break for us.
Yeah, exactly. This is a passion project.
Yeah, but I mean, just in terms of like giving it like a fighting chance, I mean, we talk about Michael Bay like kind of tongue in cheek, right? I mean, because this is what he's known for, but even there are kind of limits, and I'm just kind of like, are we writing something that someone will be like, okay, that's a very good story, like very creative, imaginative. Yeah, wow, I didn't see that coming. I like it, but like, no fucking way. Like, there's just no budget for something like that. Like it's on water.
I have no idea how much this would cost to make.
Yeah. I mean, neither do I. And I mean, that's kind of like where my only hesitancy is coming from, is like, are we making something that's like so bloody complicated and intricate that, okay, it'll just kind of be like the passion project already, always on like films and stuff, and you can like listen to it and like it's kind of interesting, but it'll just never go anywhere due to like the grand scale of what we've like imagined. But what you've imagined, I think, is actually, yeah, I agree. I think the storyline is in the great scheme of like filmmaking, kind of realistic, that there's a false flag. There's a plan for a false flag attack in order to, get money to modernize the Navy. One party escalates it kind of unbeknownst to them, and who you think are the bad guys at first actually become the good guys in the end. And there's a new group of good guys who kind of team up with those other good guys to get the real bad guys, right?
Right.
A little bit like John Travolta in
Face Off? Not Broken Arrow.
Give me another one. With Hugh Jackman and Halle Berry.
Oh, swordfish.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. You know what? That's exactly right. You want that admiral to be exactly like John Travolta from Swordfish, which is to say, he knows he's about to do something heinous, but the idea of this heinous act is ultimately because he wants to take it to the bad guys. To the quote-unquote real bad guys.
Yeah. And remember in Swordfish, Travolta was always very careful, kind of not to kill people. You remember when they kind of took everyone hostage at the bank?
Yeah.
Right? They put these the collars on them.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Remember, he put the collars on them and he was like, look, don't leave. You know, like this will be bad if you leave. And then someone actually did it. And he's like, hey, that's on you. That's not me. I just want to make it clear. That's on you for trying to rescue them.
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit like that as well. So can we walk through it? Can we walk through it again? Yeah.
From the beginning?
So from the beginning. So we've got U.S. Admiral testifying in front of Congress, Senate, needs money for modernization of the Navy. They reject it. He decides, okay, I'm going to do a false flag. He recruits his team that's already in the Navy to support him for this, except unbeknownst to them, the admiral's going to escalate it in a way that they're not aware of, correct?
Exactly. He tells them that he's going to detonate the submarine 10 miles off the coast, hurting nobody, and he says he's going to do that remotely. Whereas the reality is he's going to get it into the harbor and then blow it up, destroying critical infrastructure and maybe killing thousands.
Just let's take a pause there, though. What would you, if you're a moviegoer, what would you think is more likely to happen? Because I think we want to do what's least likely to happen, right? Or we want to subvert expectations, as you say. I love that phrase. Is it likely that the admiral has the second escalated agenda, or is it more likely that he puts into motion something that suddenly gets out of his control? And he's like, whoa, that's not what I did. And the reason I ask it is that if you're an admiral, like, he definitely can talk to his team that he thinks is loyal to them and have them do something. Does he have the ability to kind of get the freighter team lined up? Or is it more likely that his folks on the ground are a little bit more like aggressive and they kind of do things outside of his control?
So
what do you think
I think what's more likely to happen is what you've just described, which is that the team on the ground goes more aggressive, which is why I like the idea of the admiral keeping it away from his guys. That he's the one who's actually going to go more aggressive.
You think it's an admiral who goes more aggressive?
Yeah, only because I think we've seen it time and time again. The underling ends up being the guy who causes more problems and becomes the real bad guy. I think we've seen that previously, not just in I keep saying it, not just in The Rock, but in other movies as well.
Can I just throw another option out there though? If it is the guy, because we're supposed to see this coming from the senator or from the admiral right away, yeah? Like,
we're supposed to see what coming from that?
I mean, right after we see him like so passionate and aggressive in front of in front of this like congressional testimony, and he's so adamant. We see him like complaining. We see him like, we're kind of setting the expectation that this guy's going all out for it, right?
Oh, yeah. But I don't think we need to do that. I don't think we need to show him do the twist until the twist happens. I think he needs to, whenever we see him on the screen, on screen and with like making that message, it should always appear as if it's these group of patriots that are leading this mission, only for us to all of a sudden be reintroduced to the admiral in Act 2 when the admiral double crosses his team and goes further.
That's good. That's good. But do you like that more than the admiral gets double crossed by his team and actually has to send like jets to like try to bomb them?
I don't like that so much.
Okay.
I don't like that so much. I think that what happens is, I mean, I like the visual, don't get me wrong, but I think that you really want the hero to be the submarine captain who does it on his own.
I think you want it to be the submarine captain. I like that it's kind of like a buddy film, that it's a submarine captain and
Gerard
the
Butler.
tug captain.
Yeah, exactly. They work together hand in hand towards the end. This is why I remember I said, he gets the walkie-talkie. They're communicating with each other.
I think the walkie-talkie is very good.
Right?
Okay. So Admiral does a testifies, puts this false flag in motion. He gets his team to be on the destroyer during the exercise. They intentionally go left when they should have gone right during like some simple docking. They intentionally damage the submarine. They, according to protocol, or the captain of the sub unexpectedly calls in the contractor to tow him.
Yep.
Believing the damage because he wants to, as you say, salvage things, get to base as quickly as possible. Maybe he wants to get back in the war games. He's like,
right?
hey.
Which is, remember, that was the other element, was that he actually wants to get promoted to another superior class ship because he's tired of serving on this bucket of bolts.
Yeah. So he wants to get back in the action.
If he can get back in the action sooner, it'll be all the better for him.
Yep. And then he's like, hey, I'm going to see this thing through myself. So those are two unexpected things that happen.
Yep.
And the destroyer volunteers to stay with the sub and now the third party tug, escorting them back. The freighter comes in and smashes the tug. And we see that the folks are alive, but we think that they're out of action.
Yep.
And then it is what happens now between the tug and what happens now between the destroyer, the freighter, and the sub?
So what happens is the freighter then the submarine maneuvers itself underneath the freighter into the moon pool. Okay. And while that's happening, as it looks like they're done, just before they're all about to set off, the freighter fires 2 missiles or torpedoes at the destroyer.
Yeah.
And that's when we learn that the admiral's on the freighter and he's double crossing them and says this is for the greater good, disabling the destroyer but not killing it altogether. And so the viewer thinks that the destroyer is the same as the tug, out of commission. All
right. So let's talk that through. What's happening inside the sub, when the freighter has maneuvered over it and gotten it into the pool? Where's the tow cable and what's happening with the people inside the sub?
So the tow cable was first snapped off while the freighter destroys the tug.
Okay.
And remember, we started off by saying that, an engineering crew of the bad guys boarded the submarine at the very beginning of the mission. Because they said that, you don't need to be here, Captain. We're going to have our engineering crew take care of this. And that's when he says, no, I'm going to stay with the boat.
Okay. So what happens though when do they beat him up or tie him up?
So that's the thing. During the docking procedure, when all the storm is going on, he catches on to the fact that these guys are bad guys. And he hides, for example, inside a torpedo tube. And then he goes, because he knows he can't take on the engineering crew by himself.
So he hides from them and they're like, hey, where's the captain?
They're searching for him, but then the guys on the freighter are like, we don't have time for this. Finish your job. We'll get to him. They send a couple of guys to search for him on the submarine.
Yeah.
He diehards them. He gets their weapons.
Okay.
And he escapes the submarine and now gets onto the freight. Because
he's on the freighter.
He's now on the freighter. Okay. He exits the submarine, gets onto the freighter. He realizes what they're doing. So he realizes they're setting up one of the torpedoes to blow up by remote detonation. Yep. He doesn't have the engineering capabilities to do it. And maybe he's coordinating with the other captain on the walkie-talkie, hey, do you know how to do this? He's like, not while I'm not out here and my tug is destroyed. I'm barely keeping myself above water.
Yep.
So he said, and so the guy says your best bet is to get up there and destroy the remote detonator. So he takes the weapons off of the fallen guys that he sent onto the freighter, gets onto the freighter, and then it becomes Die Hard on a freighter, and he's kind of sneaking his way through while the ship. Then he sees that the freighter destroys the destroyer or fires at the destroyer, and starts moving. So now he's on a freighter which has the submarine docked on him with him.
Oh, yeah.
He understands what they're going to do, or maybe he overhears it on the radio or something because he's able to do that. And so his mission now is to go to the bridge and disable the disable the remote control. He gets caught on the bridge. He makes it all the way up to the bridge while all this is going on. And he finds the admiral, who then goes into exposition and monologues a bit and explains why he's doing what he's doing. And just as he's about to press the button to blow up the submarine remotely, all of a sudden he gets distracted because the yacht is also chasing him, and the destroyer starts blowing them to pieces.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. So wait, I get it. We got to the point where the tow or the tug is smashed, right? And continuing forward towards Hawaii or wherever, it's the destroyer that's now pulling the sub. No, the sub, after the tug got destroyed, the submarine is in the moon pool, just kind of like floating aimlessly.
No, yeah. So it's kind of being tugged, but inside the freighter. So it's being pulled along with the freighter.
But because the tug was pulling the sub, right?
Yes.
So after the tug was smashed, the
engineering crew,
cord, but then the cord like snapped, right?
Yeah.
And then the moon pool goes over the sub, and then they kind of like anchor it, and now they're driving forward, right?
Yes.
And then they on their way, the destroyer thinks, what, our job is done?
No, so that's the point, was that the destroyer was then going to accompany the freighter, and then the freighter, because the idea, that's something we need to talk about, what they're going to do. Yeah. But before they can do that, the freighter double crosses the destroyer.
Okay, so they've got like some maybe like RPGs from the top of the freighter that they fire down into
submarine, torpedoes.
Okay,
or even just torpedoes. So,
and then the freighter is going towards Hawaii with the sub. But sorry, what are they trying to do with the sub now?
So the idea is that the sub is getting repaired underneath the freighter. Okay. And as soon as the repairs are done, the submarine is going to detach from the freighter and continue on to Hawaii, while the freighter is going to turn towards Los Angeles or to the open sea. And the moment it gets to Hawaii, it's going to blow up.
So the people on the freighter who were the original bad guys.
Yep. The admiral.
They thought what was going to be taken was, hey, we're just going to offload a warhead, put it on the freighter. The freighter is going to drop it at the port in Los Angeles. It's going to explode in the port. No one's injured. And that's our false flag attack, right?
And that's what the guys on the destroyer thought. Exactly.
Got it. Okay, then the destroyer is taken out by the freighter. Got it. The freighter now has the sub, and their goal is to have the sub autonomously attack Hawaii.
Yeah, well, exactly. Go by remote towards Hawaii and then blow up above water. And because it's got a nuclear complement, also take out a lot of, everything. Because that's the trope, right? Terrorists, you're always afraid of terrorists because they've got access to dirty bombs or something like that.
I like the plot twist, but I'm not sure. I like the plot twist that it's escalated, but what do they do with the sub? I'm not clear on that.
So the idea is that they're going to remote control the sub and detonate it so that the idea is that he can go back to the Senate and be like, look at what happened to our Navy. it was commandeered, or the sub was captured or kidnapped or heisted, and then it was used as a weapon against us.
What if instead of fixing the sub, like, I'm making this up, but what if they this isn't going to sound right. Let's say they paint like a Chinese flag on it. They're like, hey, we want it to actually be an attack. I feel like it can't be. Like they're like, hey, let's weld all these Chinese subs have like this certain fin on it. Let's weld this fin, paint it red, and
let's do that, right? Because the idea was that the freighter had an Indonesian flag as well.
Yeah.
So that they're trying to make it look like the Indonesian military Navy is going after it. Yeah. So let's do the same thing. Let's say that while the sub is docked in the moon pool, you also see all of a sudden they're painting Indonesian flags.
There's like all these sparks flying, they're welding things.
They're making their submarine look slightly different than what it would otherwise.
Because
then it looks like
and then they can blame that sub. Then they can blame the destroyer attack on that foreign sub.
Exactly. Oh my God. The sub. Exactly. There you go. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
I knew we'd.
This is what this is for. This is what the workshop is for, right?
Yes.
So they
all right. So they're like, well, I like this. That's super cool in the moon pool as well. And that doesn't seem to be expensive. So in the moon pool, there's like all these sparks flying. There's welding stuff. They're painting stuff. They're putting like foreign letters and numbers on it. And we're like, what are they doing? And we find that they're modifying it to look like another country's sub. And they're going to blame that sub on killing the destroyer. And then that one's going to come into Honolulu. It's going to put up its periscope. It's going to shoot torpedoes onto the beach. And then the admiral's going to be like, and then we'll destroy that sub. So all the evidence is gone and blah, 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 right? And then the freighter.
When at the end of the movie, the beauty of this is at the end of the movie, when the Navy is forced to kind of sweep everything under the rug, they can just be like, oh, it was a training exercise with our allies in the Pacific. And there was there was a munitions dump went off and the sub.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
There was an accident. We lost no lives. Wink.
Yeah. Okay. So now we've got our good plot twist. Okay. And then, so where's the chase from? So the tug, which is now the yacht.
Yeah.
And that's actually going after the freighter.
Yes.
Is the freighter still going to Los Angeles?
Well, yeah. So the idea is to hide the sub.
Yeah. So it's going after the sub/freighter.
Exactly. And then once the freighter is close enough to the port, it peels away.
Yeah.
And lets the sub continue onwards.
Yeah.
And so what happens is now you've got two chases, right? One chasing after the submarine, one chasing after the freighter. So the yacht can continue after either, and the destroyer can show up and save the day with the other.
All right, let's think through the destroyer. So the destroyer was hit by torpedoes.
Yeah, but no, maybe not. Maybe it looked like it was hit by torpedoes, but at the very last second they applied countermeasures, and it damaged the hull, but it didn't blow apart the hull. So the viewer and the audience member thinks that the ship is going down, but reality says that no, they're fine. Or not fine, but they just need to fix a couple of their bilge pumps and whatever, and then they can get going again.
What do you think of that?
I think it's fine. It gives a little bit of a redemption arc to the bad guys on the freighter, on the destroyer.
Does it make sense that the yacht picks up the guys from the destroyer?
No, I don't think so. Because at that point, I think the tugboat wouldn't. I mean, the yacht guys wouldn't have the imperative to do that.
Okay. So
and you want the destroyer active because the destroyer is the one that's actually capable of taking down.
So the destroyer it kind of fixes itself, or it wasn't damaged so badly to begin with, or maybe it could only go like backwards or something, right?
Something, right? Maybe it's
kinda
limited
like
in its
Michael Bay.
speed, or
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So Michael Bay's got a destroyer going backwards, and then there's the Golden Yacht, right?
Yeah.
And they're both chasing after the freighter.
Yes.
Only the destroyer knows that the real target is the sub, right?
Only the destroyer. Exactly.
Right?
Exactly, because they immediately understand what's going on.
Yeah. The tug / yacht thinks,
Is
Yeah.
really only going after the freighter, and remember, they only have communications through that walkie-talkie with the captain who's on the freighter now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do they lose communication at any point?
Who?
Right. So he's talking to them and saying, "Hey, what's going on here?" You know.
Oh, that could be brilliant. Is he could see the ship being converted into, not the ship, the submarine being converted to an Indonesian one. And as they start getting away, he's kind of relaying that, but the sound is all crackly or it's breaking up. And he's like, they're converting it to Indo. They're converting it to Indo. Crack, crack, crackle, crackle. And they lose communication at that point because the freighter is speeding ahead.
But so does the yacht and the destroyer ever come into contact again? Because they're chasing the same freighter.
They're chasing the same freighter up to a point. So here's my question to you. Okay. The way I wrote it in the first draft was the yacht and the destroyer are chasing the freighter. The yacht is chasing the freighter. It's firing pot shots at it with its very limited arsenal of the billionaires' play toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the very last second, the destroyer shows up and destroys the freighter using its superior armaments. And what happens with the submarine, I said, was that the tugboat messages his friends in the port. Okay,
Dude,
go. Tell me.
It's so good because if you think about it, it's the freighter being chased by the yacht, and the yacht behind the yacht is the destroyer, and the yacht thinks that the destroyer is chasing the yacht, right?
Oh yeah, because it saw it as being a bad guy too.
Yeah, so you could also do this thing where they're shooting like these small little, like this model in a bikini shooting like these small grenades at the freighter, and then behind it like is the big shells from the
destroyer, and it looks like they're about to destroy this little yacht.
She's like, wow, like this is really powerful gun,
And then all of a sudden, exactly, she fires, and then all of a sudden there's a giant car-sized hole, and they're and they have the picture where they're looking at their RPG and they're like, that's what this thing can do, and then all of a sudden you see the destroyer behind them. Yeah.
So they have to think that the destroyer is chasing them, right?
Yeah.
But it's not actually chasing them. They don't know anything about the yacht. They're like, hey, yacht, get out of the way. Why is it following that freighter? We're chasing the freighter, right? So it has to be like a confusion, like the opposite of a car chase scene. It's a boat chase scene, but everyone's confused in terms of who is chasing who and why they're like 3 in a row, right?
So my feeling was the end of this is because now you've got a rogue submarine.
Yeah.
So my thought was twofold. One, the captain of the submarine is able to destroy the remote detonator. And simultaneously, the captain of the tugboat, or now the captain of the freighter, the destroyer, who was the jilted bad guy who becomes the good guy now, calls ahead and tells the Coast Guard and tells the, whatever, that there's a rogue submarine heading for the bay and you have to go get them.
Could it also be, though, that all 3 of these things are chasing each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the submarine kind of like peels out, and the destroyer then peels off and chases the sub.
Oh, yeah, that's another way to do it. Yep.
Right? And the yacht basically, like, let's say once they're getting close to the port, you could do a very Michael Bay-ish thing where the yacht just smashes into the freighter and they all just create like this chaos where they're falling into cranes. That's where like all the cargo boxes are falling off.
And they have to kind of dodge them left, right.
Yes. Yeah. And then those 2 guys who are originally on the tug, they meet up with the the captain of the original captain of the sub.
Yeah.
They take care of all those bad guys together. They team up, high fives and hugs and so forth. And then the destroyer sees the sub, they lock onto it, and they do this big dramatic, like, before it kind of gets to the shore, right?
Exactly. And then they blow up that submarine.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great too. That's really good too. I like that. Because now you have two non-cargo ships in a cargo container freight chase sequence going after this freighter that looks to be Indonesian, and everyone's like, oh my God, what's going on?
I'm just thinking of like the speed music with like those three things chasing each other.
Yeah.
And everyone's kind of confused, like, why is there a yacht? Get the yacht out of the way. And the yacht's like, oh my God, the destroyer's chasing us, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And the freighter's like, how does that freighter still coming? And what is this yacht all about? They're like, get that sub launched, launch the sub. You got to get this sub out, right?
I like it. I really like it.
The sub peels out and the yacht has nothing to do with the sub. The yacht's like, just smash that freighter.
Brilliant.
All right. I'm in.
Perfect. So let me make, what I'm going to do is, based on these 9/10 notes that I've got, I'm going to make
How long have we been discussing this? It's
like an hour and a half.
It's went so fast. Doesn't this make you angry, though? Can I just express frustration? Look what we've created. Jurassic Park Dominion has a very large budget. For sure, they have enough money to pay 10 guys buy 20 Red Bulls, 20 Red Bulls, and just be like, hey guys, look, we're just going to start recording this. Just chit-chat about like some different plot ideas for a while. Because right now what we've got is pretty bloody rubbish. Yeah. Can you just give us 2 hours of your time?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. And this isn't an established universe, so it's not even like they have to think about the characters. They don't have to think about who's doing what.
But I have to say, this is good. I kind of like the idea that there's a little bit like two main characters. I think it holds up well.
So I think I really like the idea of Gerard Butler playing the tugboat captain, this grizzled Navy vet who's there, a broken marriage, but he's trying to salvage himself. Who do you see as the captain of the tugboat?
Of the tugboat?
Not the tugboat, sorry, of the submarine. The straight-laced guy, the no-nonsense, follow the rules, the counterpart to Gerard Butler.
I kind of like Steve Buscemi for the tug.
Steve Buscemi also very good, by the way.
Yeah.
Or I like Steve Buscemi maybe as the navigator guy, right? Not the navigator who dies, but like the friend, the older friend who's been there for a while.
Yeah. For the sub, I can't come up with a name right now, but I hear you. I think we want it to be someone who's kind of like plays it very straight-laced, not Jack Black. Jack Black would be the tug, not the sub. The sub would be
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
And the sub is not Ryan Reynolds. The sub is more.
It's more James Marsden.
Yeah.
Right? Cyclops or, Teddy from Westworld.
Yeah.
That's someone who plays a really good straight leading man who's like, by straight, I mean in terms of not comic relief, the exact opposite of comic relief.
Do you remember in Saving Private Ryan, like Tom Hanks, right? Was like, hey, I used to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And also in like Hunt for Red October, Alec Baldwin was like, hey, I'm just an
analyst. Yeah.
Right. You kind of want the sub person to be like, you want him to be on the walkie-talkie and someone's like, hey, dude, you're in the Navy. Like, grab a gun and shoot some people. He's like,
oh, yeah, man, but I don't see that. I see him as being like a career Navy guy who was kind of like academically built for this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I see that. That's why he's gunning for the promotion. His goal is to be the youngest admiral in the fleet.
But do you see him as like someone who can handle a firearm?
No, that's my point. Is I see him as more like a pencil pusher admiral style, right?
Yes,
that's why he wants to be an admiral. He doesn't want to be underwater. He wants to be at Annapolis. He wants to be the guys leading the Navy, not the actual grunt.
Yeah, I think that's right. I can't think of who that is right now, but some ideas will come to me. But I agree. He's the kind of guy who's like, yes, I'm in the Navy, but no, I actually haven't like shot a gun in a long time. I haven't thrown a punch in a long time.
Yeah. He's kind of like what you see Tom Cruise as the JAG officer in A Few Good Men, right? Yeah. Where he's very capable, but his heart doesn't seem to be in it. I definitely see someone like Brian Cox as the Admiral, who's the bad guy.
The bad guy of, oh yeah. Yeah.
The Admiral who leads the mission against his people.
But I think now the plot is pretty I'm happy we got rid of the kid, by the way.
Okay.
I know that's like a very Michael Bay-ish thing.
That's why that's the only reason I put it in there was not even for the kid, but towards the end of the movie, you see that his mother and the kid reunite on the dock.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like, it's a very stereotypical Michael Bay ending. I worked backwards.
So it's true though that the alternative is though what we do have on the yacht. I think we'd be a little bit like in terms of like comedic, like I think the fact that we add the yacht with kind of like the Silicon Valley bro.
Oh yeah, you need like a Thomas Middleditch or a Kumail Nanjiani.
Yeah, like the gaggle of kind of like models and stuff. Like I think this provides the type of like it softens a military movie, Yeah. It's not Navy SEALs. It's not Hunt for Red October where there's no women in this whole thing. I think that's what gives this the needed kind of softness.
Yes. I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
So I think that kind of like counteracts the need to have like the kid and Gerard Butler's wife who like isn't speaking to him, but like I think having that is in the way that we kind of soften it a little bit. I mean, so I'm just thinking about like Speed did have a romantic relationship though, right? So I mean, I guess there could be. Is there enough time to have like a romance on the yacht?
Not on the yacht, but maybe the first officer of the guy is actually this woman that he's kind of interested in, that either of them are interested in, and that over the course of the movie, they finally get together at the end of the day.
So that's, I mean, but is there a woman on the sub? Is there a woman on the freighter? Is there a woman on the tug or the destroyer?
We can have them anywhere, in the sense that if you're looking for a romantic lead, that role can kind of fit anywhere. It's something that becomes less of a plot point and more of a narrative structure.
Like, do you want Gina Carano? Is that a person?
That is a person, but not a big fan.
Okay. Is there like someone like that, right? Rihanna, I think, was a little bit...
I'm out.
Yeah, but I mean, that's not the right person to put in the Navy. But is there kind of like a WWE wrestler?
No, not necessarily. What's her name? Oh my God. Katie Sackhoff, who was in The Mandalorian.
Well, Katie Sackhoff is also in Battlestar Galactica.
Also in Battlestar Galactica. I think she fits very well into this.
Right. So we need like that first mate or second person, right? That could be on one of those ships. Not the freighter though, right? The freighter's
all bad guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the admiral, but you want that admiral on the freighter at some point?
Oh yeah, I think he's going to be overseeing the operations personally, hands-on.
So is there going to be a scene where he tries to kind of like take his helicopter and get off? Or like, what's going to be his like exit strategy?
I don't think he has one. I think when he realizes he's over, he kind of goes down with the ship and he's like, this is the cost of what freedom is. This is the cost of freedom. And he goes down with the ship when the destroyer goes after him.
You're right. He's got to give kind of one of those speeches to the captain of the sub. Like, you don't understand what it takes to
the sacrifice
lead. You'll never understand the sacrifices, right? And then he has to take one like a bullet to the head or something.
Yeah, or a torpedo shell, or an artillery shell to the face or something.
Do you think the admiral would have brought, like, if you want another twist, do you think he would have had like an insurance policy who says, ha ha ha, admiral, here's your daughter. I kidnapped her and I was planning for this eventuality in case you didn't go.
I thought of that too, but I didn't think it was. I don't think that's this kind of movie. I don't think it's that kind of movie, and I don't think that for someone who's so dead set on blowing up a port, I don't think that he would go out of his way to kidnap, someone to kind of get his way. I just see him as like, this is a purely military operation. We're not going to involve civilians unless they're victims, and that's it.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if I believe this, but I think this is a point where we need to like workshop it, right? But like at some point, there's going to be like a communication where they're going to say like, hey, yes, we damaged the sub. We're pulling it. But guess what? Captain Nemo isn't getting off the sub. And the admiral's like, well, I guess I'm going to have to go get some insurance. Or I guess I'm going to have to convince him otherwise. And then like you see him in like Virginia Beach visiting like his wife saying, oh, Gracie, I got to give you some bad news.
You got to come and identify the body.
Yeah. Right. And he kind of gets her, and then like he pulls her out of the.
Yeah. Then you have the second Michael Bay. That's the other Michael Bay moment, right? When she realizes her husband isn't actually dead. Yeah. I mean, that's possible. I find that a little cheesy. I'm not a big fan of that, but that is very in keeping.
I mean, I agree. It's a little, it's more like I don't know what the name is, but like it's kind of like the ghost, that just kind of like appears, and it didn't really make sense. It was just kind of like written in as like this extra twist, kind of like what we saw in The Outfit, where the guy came back from the dead at the very end, right?
Oh,
You're like, come on, like he already died. There's no reason for that.
No, it's not.
But I could feel like there could be like one more little thing at the end. Maybe it's not necessary. But I think this is not bad. I think this is actually, I think for sure as a Netflix movie, this has enough to keep people absolutely engaged.
Yeah, and given the quality of some of the Netflix movies we've seen.
Yeah. But I think it's a lot to explain in a Netflix movie. I mean, or in any movie. I think we got to make it a little...
I have a little bit of faith in A, our plot, and B, I think in the audience. I think that when you see it, I think it's much more manageable.
Okay. If you're just talking about like filming, inside of a sub is easy. The
moon pool is easy.
The moon pool is easy. Like kind of on the bridge of the battleship. On the bridge of anything is kind of easy. I guess if you're just going to...
The chase sequence is going to be tough with the freighters.
But the chase sequence for me is not so expensive. I mean, reasonably speaking, right? You hire a freighter, say, all right, get this freighter moving. All right, yeah, you follow. You're renting two things for the day. You get the kind of like a mocked up destroyer. Like, I feel like you could do some very like long shots where you kind of show those three like with making wakes like that.
You need to work with the U.S. Navy for this movie, I think. Like they did for Top Gun, I think you really want the Navy involved in this so that you get the most authentic
even showing like the sub. I mean, kind of like at night, it may be less expensive than I think. There's not a lot of CGI. But there's going to be, I mean, you definitely need kind of like, the Paramount pictures. You kind of need like the pool at night where you see the guys kind of swimming around in a bunch of debris, right?
Yeah.
Like the tugboat guys like,
yeah,
Pete,
exactly.
Pete, are you okay? Pete. Oh, thank God, Pete. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Shoot the flare and let's get that. Like those need to be kind of like tight shots, but you can do them where they're just kind of like swimming in a dark pool with a bunch of like styrofoam debris around them.
And a green screen behind them. Absolutely.
Yeah. Look, I think I'm looking at the Dubai Canal right now. I think this should be shot on the Dubai Canal. But overall, now that I'm thinking about it, it may not be as expensive as I kind of thought. I mean, you're going to have to rent a yacht, not the end of the world.
I think it's going to be cheaper than Top Gun. I think it's going to be way cheaper than Top Gun.
The freighter is do you have a picture of the freighter that we're using? Like, you did really good descriptions. Do you have a picture of the freighter? Subs are easy because you never see like the whole sub. You just kind of see like the
hull from outside, right?
You know, and like only like the top of the hull where there's like the ladder and the periscope and the hatch. You know,
the
you
con
never
tower,
see like yeah. Oh, that's good.
I think you go for like you don't need to go for a Supermax container. I think there are some good cargo containers or freighters that you can use for it.
The weird thing is, the more modern U.S. destroyers actually look cheaper to do than the old ones. The old ones, right? The new ones are like so sleek and modern.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they actually kind of look a little bit fake, right? They're just like very smooth. Where those old ones have like so many like towers and gadgets and like,
radio antennas and all those like bits and pieces.
There's so many there's so many like gizmos that it almost seems like more complicated to like replicate that, where the new ones are just like two like smooth gray walls, you know? Yeah. So that maybe plays into our but I'm thinking about like what could be, I like the idea of that thing and I wonder what could be damaged about it. Or like, again, Michael Bay style, it would be driving backwards, you know, like, hey, Captain, we can't go forward. All right, we're just going to drive this thing in reverse, you know? And you just see like a destroyer like going backwards the whole time. Like that's very Bay-ish. Yeah.
In terms of boat movies, there aren't many that have stuck out in recent years. In fact, I don't think any in the recent years, but like, I'm looking back and I'm thinking of U571 with Matthew McConaughey. Of course, The Hunt for Red October. What other Down Periscope, which was that comedy. I don't know. Since then, I don't know what other great submarine movies have been out.
The only ship television show is The Last Ship, which is fantastic if you have not watched it.
I have not watched that.
It is fantastic. And oddly enough, my mom and I independently watched it, and we both liked it. And we were both surprised that the other person watched it and liked it.
That's funny.
It was a rare moment when we were kind of like, nah, that's not your thing, you know, to each other. But I think now that I'm looking at all these photos for like U.S. Navy, largest, most expensive advanced destroyer, second stealth destroyer, blah, 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 all these look a lot easier to replicate. There's also like something very Michael Bay-ish about, like, I mean, we've seen an ambulance and a bus, but like they'd also be like carrying, like they'd drive through like a line of laundry or like all these like kind of like Christmas lights or something, right? Yeah, and appear kind of on the other side. Like you can't really do, you know, you can't really do anything like that with our ship though. The closest you can
do with that is the chase sequence through another, like 15 other cargo containers, and they're kind of drifting their way through it.
Unless you do something like, I don't even think this would work, but you could do something like the freighter starts to push off like cargo containers.
Yeah, and the yacht has to literally smash through them.
And they smash them, and you see like one's got like all these basketballs, and one's got like all these, you know, like toy dolls, right? Yeah. So you see like all these dolls flying, and one's got like all these like clothings, right? So you see like all these like tennis shoes,
or the crane on the freighter is like upending containers, so not pushing containers off but opening them up, and like you see cars fall out of some of them, and so you have to now dodge cars in the middle of the ocean that are falling out of the sky, that kind of thing.
So yeah, that would be kind of funny where like you see one that's a car and they dodge it, and then they get close enough and there's another one like, oh no, in a car, and instead it's like all these like basketballs, right? It's
like all these bouncy castle or something.
Yeah. And then like all these basketballs are like bouncing off the ship, you know?
Exactly.
And then your Silicon Valley billionaire is like, oh my God, my paint job, you know, these are teak floors, you know, like, it needs to be like a moment like that, right?
Yeah. I like it, Ethan. I really like it. I'm going to take these 9 notes that we've got, and I'm going to
I think 2 important things we need. I'm still not 100% liking our title, although I think actually I suggested it. I don't say that by taking credit. I say that by assigning blame. I'm not loving our title, although I don't dislike it. I just don't think it like pops as much as we could. And then The second thing is, I think for our characters, I think we need like some kind of cool names. You know, not like...
Oh, yeah. That's what I said. All the names are placeholders.
Yeah.
Admiral Doe. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So...
But I could do an Admiral Poe. That would not be so bad. Poe is actually good. Poe sounds so angry and nasty. I wonder, there could also be something where, like, I wonder if on the destroyer, I was thinking, like, there could be a helicopter on the destroyer could sink and they could take the helicopter, but that's probably a little bit like...
Also not normal. Like, we would tear that to shreds because, like, what freighter has a helicopter on it?
Yeah. But the yacht could have a helicopter on it. It could also have a jet ski on it.
It definitely could have a jet ski or a pair of jet skis in the back, and it could definitely have a helicopter or like strapped down. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And then that's what they use is kind of like they're peppering the freighter with gunfire from the helicopter.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, who can fly this thing? No one has a pilot's license. No one's able to do it. And the billionaire's like, oh yeah, I can do it. And then you see this guy like in like a silk robe and shorts and shirtless sitting in the pilot's seat with his massive headset. Yeah. And he's kind of like, and then you see bullets go through it. And he's like, careful, careful. This thing costs $2 million.
Yeah. Actually, he's like, actually, I've never flown this except from like Malibu to this, you know, like, actually, that's not a bad idea. We could kind of probably work in the helicopter where like it needs to get on.
That's how you escalate the action sequences. Absolutely, is by introducing the helicopter, introducing some jet skis, and like this yacht, which is this leisure pleasure vehicle, all of a sudden becomes like a mobile forward operating base.
All right, so we do this again next week. We have some time to brainstorm it, and we do this again next week. Yeah,
we tighten it up, and then next week let's look at people who can actually fill each of the roles.
That's a great idea. Oh man, this was a really enjoyable 2 hours with you, Pete. Thanks very much for your time. All right, thanks everyone for listening and indulging our passion project.
And if you've got ideas, please names, titles, anything. Aloha at filmsandstuffpodcast.com or tweet at us at F&S Podcast.
Please tweet at us. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend ahead.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.